Hello, everyone. I think that I am extremely delighted to announce the official opening of the 4th United Nations Open Science and Open Scholarship Conference. We will start the event by welcoming an address from Undersecretary General Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, who is also the Rector of the United Nations University. Welcome, Professor Marwala. We would like to welcome you to take the stage and deliver your opening remarks so we can start the 4th UN Open Science Conference in Tokyo. Here, Professor Marwala.
Good morning. Konnichiwa. You are supposed to respond. Konnichiwa, distinguished guests and colleagues. I am honored to welcome you to the United Nations University headquarters here in Tokyo as we open the 4th United Nations Open Science and Open Scholarship Conference. United Nations University is proud to host this important gathering, especially as it marks the first time the conference is being held outside of New York. I think it was absolutely a good taste to choose to host this conference in Tokyo. Just over a year ago at the Summit of the Future, all 193 UN members reaffirmed a collective commitment to reinvigorate multilateralism and accelerate sustainable development. The Pact for the Future recognizes what brings us together today, that science is not only a driver of innovation, but also a very important pillar of peace, development, and human rights. The principle of open science and the broader vision of open scholarship are essential to fulfilling this commitment. They remind us that knowledge is a public good that grows stronger when it is shared, when it is inclusive, but not exclusive. The UNESCO recommendation on open science emphasized that global access to scientific knowledge must be reciprocal, equitable, and universal. We must ensure that every person, regardless of geography, gender, language, or circumstance, can both contribute to and benefit from the progress of science. Yet we know this vision remains far from reality. Around the world, billions of people still lack meaningful access to scientific resources, research infrastructure, and emerging technologies. In my own area of expertise, AI, the extent of the global digital divide could not be clearer, and that gap continues to widen. Addressing these disparities is not simply a question of access, it is a question of justice. Over the next 3 days, this conference will serve as a platform to explore how open science can help bridge these divides and advance the implementation of the Pact for the Future. Through discussions on AI and the global digital divide, on science communication and public engagement, and on building open and inclusive scientific infrastructure, we will reflect on how to make science more transparent and equitable, and also more open. Here at the United Nations University, this mission is a core part of our identity. As the academic arm of the UN, United Nations University exists to connect research and policy, to bridge knowledge across the global north and south, and to ensure that the benefits of scientific progress are shared broadly and fairly. Hosting this conference here at UNU reflects our belief that open science is not only a scientific imperative, but a moral one. I'd like to thank the United Nations Hammarskjöld Library of the Department of Global Communications for their leadership, as well as the Department of Economic and Social Affairs and UNESCO for their substantive contribution in organizing this conference. I would also like to thank all of you for joining us here in Tokyo and online. Let us use this opportunity to reaffirm that science, when open and inclusive, is among humanity's most powerful tools for building a more sustainable, peaceful, and just world. Welcome to the United Nations University. There was more things I wanted to share with you, but the timekeeper has just told me that time is up. Thank you very much, and I look forward to engaging you in the next few days. Thank you.
Thank you, the Secretary General Marwala and Rector of the United Nations University for this inspiring opening to this event. I would like now to give the floor to Mr. Navid Hanif, Assistant Secretary General of the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, our collaborator in this event, who will offer some opening remarks through a video message.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, friends, it is an honor to join you at the 4th United Nations Open Science and Open Scholarship Conference here in Tokyo and online. I thank the UN Hammarskjöld Library, UNESCO, my own department, the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, and our hosts, the United Nations University, for convening this important meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, we meet at a pivotal moment for multilateralism and for science. Just 1 year ago, world leaders adopted the Pact for the Future, a landmark blueprint that reaffirmed the central role of science, evidence, and inclusion in advancing the UN's 3 pillars, namely peace, sustainable development, and human rights. The Pact calls for open science and open innovation to bridge divides and ensure that all people can participate in and benefit from knowledge. Yet, that vision remains distant from many. Ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate the UN's 80th anniversary, we face a defining question. How can we deliver for people and planet in an age of rapid technological change? Artificial intelligence, data analytics, and digital platforms are transforming economies and societies. They bring great promise, but also deep questions about ethics, access, and control of knowledge. Open science offers part of the answer. It is built on cooperation, transparency, and shared responsibility. When knowledge flows freely, science becomes not only a source of innovation, but a foundation of trust. I must also mention that today's world is divided by inequality and disinformation. Open science can also help to bridge that divide. It allows developing countries and marginalized communities to be participants in discovery and not just recipients of outcomes. It helps connect global knowledge with local realities, strengthen policy choices, and build capacity for homegrown innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, the International Decade of Science for Sustainable Development reminds us that science must serve as a global common good, linking the Sustainable Development Goals to people's everyday lives. AI depends on the same principles that drive open science: open data, open code, and open publications. Yet, many AI systems trained on open data remain closed. The Global Digital Compact, adopted last year, calls for equitable and inclusive AI anchored in human rights and global cooperation. Open science provides the governance model to make AI a public good, not a private privilege. It ensures that AI is transparent, verifiable, and fair, and that data respect privacy, equity, and human dignity. We must also rebuild public trust in science. Open and participatory research connects scientists with societies. It empowers youth, women, and local innovators to co-create solutions and shape research questions. Ladies and gentlemen, our digital information ecosystem is fragile. To counter misinformation, we need open, reliable, and context-specific science communication. Science as a public conversation, not a gated community. The United Nations family is fully committed to advancing open science. It is central to the implementation of the Pact for the Future, the Global Digital Compact, and the realization of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Let us use this conference to forge new partnerships across governments, academia, civil society, and the private sector to ensure that science serves all humanity. In an era when knowledge can be both weaponized and democratized, open science reminds us that transparency, equity, and collaboration are the surest path to shared progress. Together, let us make science open by default and equitable by design. Thank you and best wishes for a productive and inspiring conference.
Just want to say that we have thanked the Assistant Secretary General of DESA on behalf of the Department of Global Communications in a written communication prior to this conference. I would like now to give the floor to our second long-standing partner of this conference, and that is UNESCO. Assistant Director-General of UNESCO, Dr. Lidia Brito, has taken time out of her busy schedule to send us a video message as well.
Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure and honor to open the 4th United Nations Open Science and Open Scholarship Conference. UNESCO is proud to once again partner with the Hammarskjöld Library of the United Nations and the Division for Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. I also warmly thank the United Nations University for hosting this meeting here in Tokyo. At the outset, let me state clearly, open science brings really benefits to research, the economy, policymaking, and society. For researchers, it means knowledge that is reproducible, transparent, and open for validation, creating collaboration, accelerating discovery, and increasing impact. For entrepreneurs and businesses, it drives innovation, builds partnerships with academia, and increases the return on investment in research. For policymakers, it provides timely and evidence-based knowledge to design stronger, people-centered policy. And for society, it gives educators, journalists, health professionals, and citizens access to trusted knowledge and the chance to contribute to its creation. Yet we face challenges. Geopolitical tensions are fragmenting scientific exchanges. Misinformation and disinformation erode credibility and public trust. In this context, open science is more vital than ever. It offers a bridge to transparency and collaboration, helping societies navigate global challenges and rebuild trust in science. Let us also remember that open science goes beyond access to publications. As the UNESCO recommendation on open science stresses, it includes open data, open source, open educational resources, open infrastructure, and open engagement of all stakeholders, including citizens, marginalized scholars, and indigenous and local knowledge holders. We are encouraged by the progress that has been achieved. More than 80 member states have now reported on the implementation of this UNESCO recommendation. Policies, infrastructure, and innovative practices are expanding. Awareness is growing. Practices are evolving. Incentives are emerging. But open science is not yet the norm. Gaps and inequalities persist, and knowledge divides risk leaving many behind. That is why equity must be at the heart of open science. Both the UNESCO recommendation and the United Nations Pact for the Future urge us to ensure that open science serves the common good. As we begin this conference, let us remember, open science is not only about access to knowledge, it is about justice, trust, and shared responsibility for our collective future. I thank you, and I wish you a fruitful discussions.
We have thanked the Assistant Director-General of UNESCO, Dr. Lidia Brito, in a written message on behalf of the Department of Global Communication. And now is the time that I'm very happy to invite on the stage my colleague of the Department of Global Communications, Ms. Kaoru Nemoto, who is the Director of the United Nations Information Center in Japan, to deliver opening remarks for the conference.
Distinguished guests, dear participants, good afternoon, and warm welcome to this fourth United Nations Open Science and Open Scholarship Conference in Tokyo. I also understand there are a number of people around the world who are joining us online. It is a great honor to speak to you at this critical juncture when the United Nations is marking 80th anniversary of its founding. We are especially proud to have this conference hosted in Tokyo, a city that embodies innovation, collaboration, and a deep respect for knowledge. This year's conference comes at a pivotal moment as we look towards the implementation of the Pact for the Future, which was adopted as an outcome document of the Summit of the Future last year. We are reminded that science is not only a tool for discovery, it is a foundation for peace, sustainable development, and human rights. Yet, billions of people still lack access to the benefits of scientific knowledge and infrastructure. That is why open science is not a luxury, but it is a necessity. Over the next 3 days, we will explore how open science and open scholarship can accelerate progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals, foster inclusive innovation, and ensure that no one is left behind. We will hear from policymakers, researchers, librarians, publishers, and civil society representatives, each bringing a unique perspective to the global conversation. Speaking about AI, which brings a revolution to scientific inquiries and infrastructure, open science is a foundation for inclusive and ethical AI development. By promoting transparency, equitable access to data, and collaborative research, open science ensures that AI technologies are shaped by diverse voices and serve the needs of all communities, not just the privileged few. It empowers global participation, strengthens trust, and accelerates innovation that aligns with human rights and sustainable development. As a UN communicator, I would like to stress that science does not exist in vacuum. It must be communicated clearly, ethically, and inclusively. In a world too often divided by disinformation, misinformation, and mistrust, communication is the bridge that connects knowledge to action and people to one another. It is through open dialogue, shared understanding, and mutual respect that we can build the trust needed to solve global challenges together. As you may know, in Japan, we have just concluded 6-month-long program at the UN Pavilion of the Expo 2025 held in Osaka, Kansai. The pavilion was visited by 400,000 people from Japan and beyond. The pavilion sent a powerful message that united, we can build a better future. So let us use this opportunity not only to share knowledge, but to listen, to learn, and to collaborate across borders and disciplines. Because the future of science, and indeed the future of our planet, depends on our ability to work together openly and honestly. I thank you for being here, and I wish you all a productive conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nemoto, for this introduction. So now is the time that I'm changing hats. So I'm no longer the master of ceremonies, apparently. Now I need to offer some welcoming to all of you on behalf of the Hammarskjöld Library of the Department of Global Communications, which has been the main convener of this conference since 2018. So I want to start by saying konnichiwa, yo okoso. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you're joining us from today. What is the camera that actually broadcasts online? I want to say thank you very much for the time you took to connect to this event. We have over 2,500 people connecting online. And we would love to have you here in the UN University, but I know that we're at least able to reach you, and I'm looking forward to an exciting conversation online. So my name is Thanos Giannakopoulos, and as chief of the United Nations Flagship Library, it is my profound honor to welcome you to this conference. We stand here today after a remarkable journey with my colleagues and colleagues at the UNU, and I must begin by expressing how truly heartened we are by what brought us to this moment. The conference exists only because communities around the open science and open scholarship come together once more during a moment that, on one hand, the UN is commemorating its 80th anniversary, and at the same time, my organization is reflecting on substantive changes for the organizations through no fault of our own. Since 2018, the core strength of this major Department of Global Communications event has been to bring communities together and find solutions to truly achieve the opening of the record of science, of all disciplines of science. We remain thankful to our long-standing partners and collaborators in organizing this event, the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, UNESCO, our colleagues from UNESCO. The conference would also not have been possible at all without the generous support of a North American philanthropic institution, of the Public Library of Science, of Science Europe, of the Scholarly Publishing Academic Resources Coalition, of the Institute for the Study of Knowledge Management, of the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, and of the University College Dublin, and of course, of the United Nations University and Rector Marwala, our gracious hosts who provided extensive organizing support and have this wonderful conference hall where we all convene. United Nations University's mission is knowledge to transform the world. So our presence here sets, I think, the ideal tone for the coming days. I'd like to express my deep gratitude to my colleagues from the United Nations Flagship Library who worked vehemently and around the clock to deliver a conference outside our duty station for the first time. A special thank you to my colleagues, MX Megs Watsa, Ms. Mayumi Miyaoka, Ms. Ariel Lebovitz, Ms. Nancy Ye, Ms. Janine Picard, and so many others. Finally, our thanks to all of you who joined us today in person and all of you who joined us today online. At the end of the day, this conference is for you, and its outcomes will be shaped together with you. We have had thousands of people register, as I mentioned, with the vast majority being our colleagues who connect online. Registration represents all continents except Antarctica. We are thrilled that this event will be delivered in English with live interpretation in Japanese in person and online and Spanish online, ensuring that our conversations can truly be multilingual and inclusive, reflecting the values we strive to champion. This extraordinary global participation demonstrates not just interest, but urgency. It shows that the issues we gather to address resonate across borders, languages, and scientific disciplines. The Hammarskjöld Library has served at the intellectual heart of the United Nations for decades. We have witnessed how access to knowledge shapes policy, how information empowers communities, and how the democratization of science and scholarship can transform the world. But we have also witnessed the barriers, commercial, technological, linguistic, and structural, that prevent knowledge from flowing freely to those who need it the most. This is why we're here at this very moment. The 2021 UNESCO recommendation on open science provides us with a framework. The Pact for the Future and the Global Digital Compact offers us commitments. But frameworks and commitments alone do not create change. Change requires the collective will, wisdom, and work of communities like ours. Researchers, librarians, policymakers, civil society organizations, open access publishers, and knowledge stewards from every corner of the world. Over the coming 2 days, we will explore how scientific knowledge is created, validated, shared, and incentivized. We will examine how infrastructures, both digital and institutional, either enable or constrain equitable access. We will discuss bibliodiversity, multilingualism, and the critical importance of North-South, South-South, and triangular cooperation. And we will move from discussion to action, from principles to practice. The many voices in this space, virtual and physical, represent a wide variety of perspectives, experiences, and solutions. I encourage each of you to share your insights freely, challenge assumptions, forge new partnerships, and help us craft not just recommendations for the outcome document, but pathways for implementation. To our in-person participants, welcome. To those joining online from every time zone, thank you for your commitment to being here despite the distances that separate us. To our colleagues at UNESCO, the UN University, our fellow UN agencies, and all our partners and funders, thank you for believing in this vision and for your unwavering support. And to every participant, thank you for bringing your expertise, your passion, and your dedication to the cause of open, equitable, and inclusive knowledge systems. Let us begin this important work together. And now I'm taking off this hat because my time is over. And thank you very much once again.